Hello everybody and welcome to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. Today I'm probably going to be mainly talking about my trip to Cornwall and learning to surf, which was a surprise trip that my boyfriend organised, and also about the Windsor Horse Show, which I've recently been to. There was also a lot of things went wrong before we got to the horse show. I feel like it just kind of went on and on. We're like, oh, another bad things happened, But anyway, before we start, I just want to say a huge thank you to the title sponsor of the podcast, Red Post Equestrian. So Red Post is an equestrian and country store that sell all over the world and ship worldwide. So if you're in the US and you want to get your hands on the new Lemieux Spring Summer collection, or if you realise, oh no, I've run out of plaiting bands and I've got a horse show coming up soon, be sure to go to redpostequestrian.co.uk and yeah, all of your equestrian and country needs. So thank you Red Post for sponsoring. Anyway, starting off, I thought I'd talk to you about the drama before Windsor. So I went to Windsor for just the day. They very kindly invited me there to work, so I was doing lots of social posts and things. And luckily it's a horse show that I feel like it's close enough that we can go for the day, but it is a long day and a very intense work day as well. So I got up that morning at 4 a.m. I feel like I've done a lot of 4 a.m. starts recently. It's like my new wake up time. I'm also one of those people, please say I'm not the only person that does this, but I find it easier waking up at 4 a.m. than I do waking up at 5:30 or 6, even though that's my normal waking up time. I'd say, well, more on the 6 end, but still. Anyway, I don't think it's because when I have a big thing on the next day, oh, I've got a horse show, or oh, I'm leaving to go somewhere, or something like that, I think my brain naturally is I don't have as deep of a sleep, especially nearing the morning. My brain's just I need to get up for this thing. I even had not a stress dream, but I had a dream that I missed my alarm and I didn't get up in time. And so anyway, the way that it kind of works now I've moved out of my parents' house is that depending on which way we go, sometimes I go and pick up my dad, or sometimes my dad comes and picks up me to go to wherever we're going for work, if we're filming away from home. But anyway, so he was like, okay, this is the time I'm picking you up. I think it was 4:45. So I woke up at 4 to make sure I could do my hair and makeup and get changed, have some breakfast. Also, I'm one of those people, I have to eat first thing in the morning, as soon as I get up. If not, I feel ill. Even if I kind of go back to sleep in the car, I don't know what it is, but I'll wake up in the car and I'll just feel violently ill. I need to have something in my stomach. Even I also need to drink some water. I think as soon as I'm awake, I need to break my fast. I need to have some food. But I had a brioche that morning. That was my little go-to snack. I always find a bit of buttered toast. That's quite easy to get down your first thing in the morning, or a banana. They're my go-to kind of early morning, I need to eat something breakfasts that are kind of easy and simple. So I had my brioche, got ready, got changed. Probably took a little bit longer than I should to do my hair, so I was doing that. And I kind of looked at my phone and looked at the clock on my watch and was like, wait a second, it's 4:45 and he is not here yet. And my dad is very punctual, so I was talking about punctual, we'll get onto that, no pun intended. But yeah, I was what's going on? Because especially my house is not far away from where my parents are and where the horses are. I'm talking 2 kilometres, literally down the road, not far away at all. And anyway, my dad rang me up being hey, I'm going to be a little bit later because the car has got a puncture, and I knew exactly which hole he got the puncture in, because for some reason on my road, there's this one bit where there's kind of I was going to say a stream, it's not even really a stream, basically there's a ditch that overflows in the winter, and also there are a lot of trees in that area on that bit of road on the corner, and it just gets really wet, and it's just wet all the time, and in the winter it doesn't really dry out, especially if it gets frozen and then thaws. And anyway, geography stuff there of weathering, but this road just gets really worn out, and it's a little country lane that not many people drive on. So also, but it's very exciting, that hole has now been filled in. I feel this is the most exciting thing in my family. Even my grandparents who live next door, we're oh, did you see that pothole? It's been filled in now. That was there for 2 months and now it's filled in. It's great. It's the most exciting thing. Especially as on my road, I feel I know where all the potholes are. So I kind of feel like I'm doing a little bit of a slalom going around. But it's one of those roads where it's a country lane where there's enough room, because there's verges, that you can pass another car, just about, but I'd say it's pretty much single track. In the US, you would be that as 100% single track, because we have such tiny, windy roads over here in the UK. not quite like Devon and Cornwall roads. Oh my goodness, they are like, especially in Devon, I feel like it's literally road and then hedges. There is no area to like, you have to reverse back loads if you come in contact with another car or even a tractor. Oh my goodness. So I'm very grateful that I have a reversing camera on my car. Anyway, back to this pothole. My dad obviously went in the pothole, just like the tyre just went bang apparently. So he drove back home because he was like, look, it's not far. It'll be alright. I can't just abandon my car here at 4:45 a.m. So we ended up going in my car instead. So that's the first thing where we were like, okay, day's not quite gone off to a great start. And then the second thing was there was a closure on the road. I think it was on the motorway. I think it was the M25. We were driving along and we were like, la-di-da-di-da, like, okay, we're a little bit later because of, you know, the car fiasco, but it's okay, we're gonna still get there on time. And then we saw this big thing up on, you know, like on motorways, they have those big screens and it kind of says, like, basically, I was going to say notifications, but I was going to say, you know the motorway notifications? That's a very weird way of describing it, but if this says, like, if there's been a car crash or, I don't know, if a junction's closed. Anyway, it was saying that the junction that we were supposed to come off, or one of the junction, anyway, something important where we were going was closed, and we were like, oh my goodness, if we are going to have to do, like, a full-on, like, this is such a, like, a, it's like not a big problem at all. Like, this is such a, you know, people have much greater problems than this in their life, but we were just like, oh, the drama of, you know, having that happen and then the junction being closed, and we're like, oh my goodness, what more could go wrong on this trip? And as you know, this was all before like 6 a.m. I'm saying here, but luckily we managed to, you know, finesse our way through, because as soon as we got to the, because we were like, oh, do we, like, where do we go off? I was, like, looking on my phone, all the different, like, other routes that we could go in case, you know, it wasn't happening. So, luckily, well, okay, we could see some cars ahead, and we're like, okay, we'll carry on going, and they just opened up the road. So, you could kind of say the puncture was a blessing in disguise, because if we were like 15 minutes earlier, we would have had to go on a long old route the other way, because I think they were basically redoing the road overnight, and then they were just opening it up first thing in the morning. So, you never know, that could have, I always think when something bad happens like this is such like a weird thing to think, but I think if that like bad thing didn't happen, like, I don't know, getting a puncture, or the times I've got to the bottom of the driveway and I'm like, oh, I've forgotten my bag or my purse, something like that, I have to turn around and go back and grab it. I think, what would have happened? Like, something really bad could have happened to me if I didn't do that. Like, I could have ended up in a car accident or something if I didn't go back and get my bag, or, you know, that puncture didn't happen. So I always think, like, you never know, could have been a blessing in disguise. But yeah, I arrived there, got there, and then we were like, oh right, okay, we've got our, so the way it works when you kind of work as press for a show is you have a, you normally go to the media centre, which is kind of where everybody goes and has their cameras and their laptops set up, and kind of has like their workstation / desk, and you get given like a Wi-Fi password, and so you get free Wi-Fi. And sometimes if you're at a really nice media centre, like I think some of the FEI media centres we went to, they had like unlimited Diet Coke and coffee and tea and water, and sometimes if you're really lucky they bring out biscuits. I think it was the Longines Global Champions Tour, they had like red velvet cookies every day, they were really good. Just like, this is such like a weird thing, I feel like I'm so good at something that me and my dad do, or me and my family do, because we go to so many service stations with my job. I actually rank different service stations, and I have them all like written down on my phone of like which ones my favourites are, which I feel like is really sad, but when you go to a lot of service stations, they're all kind of the same but different. Like, it's really weird. It's like, you know, when you've kind of been, like, you're in a dream, and you're dreaming of somewhere and it's not quite that place, but it feels like, but you know it's that place. I always have that with theme parks. For some reason I always dream about theme parks, but anyway, that's what it's like at service station. It's like, I feel like I've been here before. It's exactly the same, like even sometimes the exact same layout, but there are just different shops in the kind of shop areas, if that makes sense. But anyway, what was I talking about? Service stations? Oh, media centres. So I feel like I should probably start ranking media centres because I've been to so many. But in order to get to the media centre, you need to get into the show. Now, we had to go to kind of like the ticket box office and show our kind of things, being like, because our media press accreditation kind of stuff was all in the media centre, and obviously we had to get into the show to get to that. So we went to this lady and we were like, oh, like we have our like printed out like invitation, but normally they send stuff through the post, but it ended up being a little bit last minute and all that kind of stuff. So we're like, can you let us in please? So I had to like get my little driver's license out and ID to show that my name on the letter matched my name on my card. And then we were like, oh no, this is going to be like such a faff. And then guy at the gate, he recognised me from the London International Horse Show, and he was like, go, I know, like to the security, be like, don't worry, I know these peeps, they can come on through. So we're like, great. So that was another sort of thing where, to be fair, that wasn't a problem at all, but that was another thing where we're like, are we going to be like let in? Is this going to be allowed? Like just with our kind of like piece of paper that we had it was official, but it probably looked a little bit on the dodgy side. Like, who are these people trying to like get in with this like little piece of paper here? It was also the last day on the Sunday, and I feel like if you go at the beginning of the show, you're there, like obviously all the photographers I know really well and I'm friends with and that kind of thing, but all the kind of security, because there's a lot of places that we kind of go as press that general public aren't allowed, which is really, really cool, which I'm so lucky to say is my job. So for example, there's a thing called a moat around the edge of the arena, and that's where we kind of stand. So often like there's like little moat areas that you can go in, which are like in the corners, and they often have like the big live streaming cameras there as well. Obviously you have to make sure you don't get in front of them, that would not be good. But yeah, that was pretty much what we were doing at Windsor. We were doing lots of social media, so saw some really cool defenders for the first, well, not for the first time, but getting actually to like sit in them and look inside, which was really good fun. I always love like sitting in really fancy horse boxes, really fancy cars at horse shows. I feel like it's just such a little fun thing to do. You can sit in there and pretend it's yours. Although I can actually say that with my horse box. Before, I've never been able to say that, but thanks to Bloomfields and Aquito horse boxes, I sit in and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like my one, but in a different colour. So that is still very much a pinch me moment, which I'm so, so grateful to say. But yeah, that was Windsor really. It was really cool seeing all the showing classes. I felt like Windsor was busier with me seeing like you guys than I was at badminton. Like so many of you came up and said hi, which was really, really lovely. I also feel like my older audience kind of saw me at Windsor as well. Like there was quite a lot of you came up and said that you really enjoyed the podcast, so thank you very much. You know who you are. But yeah, so that was I had a really good fun time. We were there a long time actually, because by the time I finished like filming everything, I then got to edit and upload it to like my Instagram and do all my stories and all my reels. We ended up doing like 3 main grid posts as well on that day, so I was there editing on my computer. Oh my gosh, my laptop was hating me that day. You know when you get the little rainbow going round and round on your mouse? Yeah, my laptop was like, girl, this is intense. Like my laptop isn't used to doing that much intense work. Like it's a really good laptop. It's like top of the range Mac, because obviously I use it for work all the time and it needs to be up to strength for, you know, editing in 4K and all that kind of stuff on Final Cut Pro. So I was like, okay, that's something that I really do need to invest my money into when it comes to filming gear, because filming gear is expensive, oh my goodness. But anyway, my laptop was not having a good time, because the main computers that we use for editing are the Macs that have the like, I've forgotten what they're called, but it's not like the normal kind of like MacBook Pro or Mac Air. I always forget which one's which. The like Studio. Thank you. We edit on the Mac Studio, so it's like a separate little box to the screen, and luckily that box doesn't sound like it's gonna be an aeroplane taking off like my laptop did when we were at Windsor. So yeah, the laptop doesn't have as much kind of oomph and power to it as my other ones. So even though I was only editing a reel, not even a full-on YouTube video, it was taking its time. But yeah, we were at the show from 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 in the evening, or 7:30 p.m. So that was a 12-hour work day. It was a lot, but it was really good fun. Oh my goodness, I was absolutely knackered afterwards. I had a big old sleep that night. You know when you have like a really good sleep where it's like a full-on deep sleep, when you wake up in the morning you're a bit disorientated and you don't really know where you are? I had one of those sleeps and it was really good. So yeah, the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is my trip away to Cornwall, which I feel like, I don't know what it is, I always feel bad when I talk about going away on holidays on here, because I don't know, I feel like I don't actually go on holiday that much. Last time I went on holiday was Norway, and that was beginning of the year, which I know, like, I'm so grateful to say that I've been on holiday, but like for me, I prefer to go on lots of little holidays rather than going on like a week holiday. I don't know what it is, but a week holiday feels too much for me. Like I don't know what it is, like as soon as it gets to like maybe day 4 or 5, I'm itching to get back home, in the sense that like I miss the horses, I want to go and ride the horses. Actually the only time I didn't feel that much was in South Africa and Botswana, because I was riding horses, so maybe that's what it is. But also I was working out there, so it was kind of like a working holiday, if that makes sense, because I was still like filming, and I think that's also what I missed. I missed like working, as in like filming my videos, editing, posting on my socials. Although recently, when I've been going away, I have kind of been posting on my socials as well, keeping you guys updated, because I feel like a lot of you have been really enjoying my sort of non-horsey content lately, especially like, well, I mean the podcast, I talk about things around horses, I guess, but that's why I kind of decided to call it my country life rather than like my equestrian life, because I just talk about anything and everything really. As you know from the podcast, I'm very good at going off topic, like my ranking service stations. But when I go on holiday, I don't know, so I prefer to go on like little city getaways or little getaways for like kind of like a long weekend. Like when we went to Norway, we only went for 3 days and stayed only like 2 nights, so we all managed to get like the Friday off, I think it was, and we were back by Sunday night, ready for work on the Monday. But also I think my boyfriend likes that as well. He doesn't like having time away from his business, so it works out quite well. We have like a little bit of a getaway where we go and do something fun, have a bit of a rest and recoup, and then by the time we are back home, we are both like on it. We are ready to, I don't know, I feel like I'm really lucky to say that when I do go on holiday, I kind of want to come home, because it obviously shows that, you know, I'm very lucky to have lots of things that I love at home, if that's my work, my family, my horses. I feel like horses are the best thing when it comes to going on holiday. You always want to come home to them and give them cuddles and just like little things. Like I miss their smell. I love the smell of horses. I feel like with your own horses, you kind of don't smell them as much anymore. It's like with your house. When I first moved into the cottage, I was like, oh wow, this is like what my cottage smells like. And now I've kind of lost its smell. Or when you've been on holiday for a really long time and then you get in your house and you're like, oh, my house has a smell. It smells like home. And then you kind of get used to it. But yeah, I feel like other horses smell more. Back when the London International Horse Show was at Olympia, I don't know what it is, but Olympia has a smell. Please tell me I'm not the only one. But Olympia, I feel like I keep like asking you guys to like tell me things. So if you are watching, I know you, from audio listeners, you're watching on all the different platforms, but if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, listening, I'm so good at saying watching because that's what I'm used to still. But if you're listening or watching on YouTube, then please be sure to comment and let me know if you know what I mean by other horses have more of a scent. But yeah, anyway, at Olympia, I feel like it's got such a scent because it smells of horse, but it's not your horse. And it's like a warmth because obviously it was all heating, it's an inside show. But I feel like that smells, I don't know, it just has a smell and it brings me back. I feel like also the things that really smell like summer to me, hoof oil, that smells really good, and like fly spray. I think the reason why hoof oil makes me think of summer is because the only time I'd really use hoof oil would be doing like summer shows as a kid or doing pony club where like tack and turn I have to be looking all posh and fancy, so hoof oil does make me think of summer too. Especially pony club camp, that was like the time where I probably used hoof oil the most. Now I use more of like a hoof ointment or hoof paste because it's supposed to be good for their hooves. I mean, it looks like it's been doing good. My farrier says, you know what, I feel like their hooves have improved. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if it's actually the hoof ointment that I've just like bought online or if it's actually, you know, maybe their diet's got better because there's more stuff in the grass, or I don't know, it's like one of those kind of things. Like it could be so many different other things, or maybe like Joey's hooves just aren't as dry as they are because we've had a really wet spring. Oh my gosh, this spring has been so wet, but I feel like I've gone on about that so much. British people things, just talking about the weather all the time. Anyway, back to my trip away. I feel like I've talked all about other things but not the trip. I'm so good at going off topic. Anyway, so this trip I did not know about at all. It was for our anniversary, and my parents, I don't know why I didn't clock this. I feel like I'm very oblivious to things, so that's like surprises, or actually I feel like there haven't been many surprises. I was surprised for my birthday last year when I came back from my trip away from Rome for my 21st, I came back and all of my friends and family were at home and they surprised me when I walked through the door. So I was there like proper sweaty, you know, when you've just been travelling on a plane and you're a bit tired and like, I don't know, like feeling a bit greasy, and I was like, oh, all of my friends and family here. But no, it was really lovely, and like, you know, they're my friends and family. I don't care that I'm looking, you know, or not feeling my best, but no, that was honestly so sweet. Like, they were all there and we had cake, and oh, that was really lovely. That was bringing me back, because oh my gosh, I've just realised it's my birthday in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Yeah, less than 2 weeks. Oh, that's crazy, that feels weird. Thing is, I always forget that my birthday is coming up, because my birthday is in June, and it's like beginning of June, the 2nd of June. So the whole time in May, I'm like, oh, it's not my birthday month yet, it's not my birthday, I don't really think about it. And then suddenly, 1st of June, I'm like, oh, it's my birthday tomorrow. I don't know, I feel like we're not the biggest family, or like biggest birthday kind of family. Like, we don't always have like a huge party or anything like that when it's someone's birthday. Like, we'll go out, we'll do something nice, we'll have a nice meal or something. That's kind of it. We don't like splash out on like presents or anything like that either. It's kind of just like a time where everyone kind of comes together. I'm actually having a joint birthday party this year with my grandma, which is really cute. So having like all my uncle and auntie and my cousins and everyone coming. So that'll be sweet. I mean, it was more my grandma's birthday actually, and then I'm kind of, my mum's like, you're away for your birthday, so oh yeah, I'm going away again. But that's actually not for my birthday, it's for my boyfriend's birthday, who's also very soon, but that just happened to be the time where we could all get work off, because I'm going with his family as well. So I'm not actually, well, I don't actually know where I'm going for that. That is another surprise. His mum did say that she's going to tell me where it is a week before, so I'm going to probably ask her now, because she was like, that would stress me out, not knowing where I was going, like making sure that I've got everything for the trip. So I feel like I'm being such like a part-timer here. I'm going on 2 holidays within like a month? Yeah, within 2 weeks. So yeah, that's quite exciting. So at the moment I'm kind of in like frantic, that's another reason why I don't go away very much. I kind of go into like frantic going away mode. So I'll probably film like a few more podcasts at some stage, maybe not today, but I will make sure that I have a podcast ready to go while I'm away. I'll have like YouTube videos ready, Instagram reels, all that kind of stuff, just so then like I'm prepared. So I feel like before I go away, I work twice as hard, so when I'm away, I have no work to do, and then when I get back, I kind of work twice as hard to catch up where I've kind of missed. Please tell me I'm not the only person who does this. I don't know if that's just, you know, being an adult, what being an adult is like, or, you know, working for, it's probably a working for yourself kind of thing, isn't it? So no, I'm really looking forward to that trip. Still don't know where we're going. It's not one of those mystery ones where you book it and like they tell you to, like the airline or whatever just randomly is like everyone on the trip doesn't know where they're going kind of thing. His parents have booked it, so they're the one that are keeping it a mystery. I feel like everyone knows, like his brother and his brother's girlfriend knows, I feel like my parents know, even like my best friend knows, and I'm like, me and him, no idea. Anyway, our trip to Cornwall, so he told me like a few days before, and that was actually blocked out saying that my parents were going away, and I thought to myself, oh, that's a bit annoying, you know, they're going away during our anniversary. And this is how far in advance like he booked it. He booked it back in January, I think, because in January he was like, oh, I saw this really good like sale on, or this deal on, and I've bought you a wetsuit in your favourite colour because it was on sale, and I bought myself one as well, like, because I was in the market for a new wetsuit and I knew you didn't really have one. Like, I definitely had wetsuits growing up as a kid, but it's one of those things that I've just never had since being an adult. Like, I was such like a water baby as a kid, like, we'd always go, I was gonna say, like, we live near the sea, but I feel like I was just such a feral child. Like, if we went to the sea and I really wanted to swim in the sea, I would just go in my knickers. Like, I remember one April, I'm talking about proper English sea here in April, which I just remember it being like a sunny day, and we went to the sea to go and have like a fish and chips, and I remember being like, oh, I really wish I could swim in the sea, and my mum was like, you can, just go in your knickers, and I was like, all right then. So little sort of 7-year-old me just went swimming in my pants. So there we go. But anyway, so he told me like literally like a few days before, like, he was like, oh, I really wanted to like pack a bag for you, because at the moment I'm still in this weird situation where half of my clothes are upstairs in my loft and the other half were at my house. So he was like, I probably could just like steal some clothes and put them in a bag without me really noticing, being like, oh, where's that top gone? But no, he did tell me in the end, because I felt like my parents' backup story for where they were going away didn't really work out. It wasn't matching up, and I didn't even realise this. I didn't even think about this. I was like, them being away, that's like their thing. That's not for me to worry about. I don't know what's happening with them. But anyway, yeah, I got told that we were going on holiday, and at first, like, I felt like most people were like, oh wow, I'm going on holiday. But at first I was like, but that's when mum and dad are away. Who's going to look after the horses? Like, that was the first thing I said. But when I realised, he was like, no, they're not going away. So you knew that you weren't doing any work then. And my dad was like me and my dad were both in like, okay, he's going away. Or I thought he was going away. It was me going away. I was like, okay, I need to get all this kind of stuff done before then. But yeah, so we woke up again at 4 AM. Sorry, I'm actually going to get to like what we did on our holiday now. We woke up at 4 AM. Drove all the way to Cornwall, which is a very long journey. We're pretty east and Cornwall is pretty west. So we pretty much did like the whole width of the UK, it feels like. And yeah, it was probably about 6 hours, I want to say. 6 hours with no traffic. Luckily, I am very good at sleeping in cars, as you know. So my boyfriend very kindly drove all the way on the way there. Woke up at 4. I mean, he's used to waking up 4 anyway, like that's normally his wake up time, like probably a little bit later than that, but still. So I just went back to sleep in the car. I'm such a horrible passenger. I was like, is that alright? And he was like, yeah, it's fine, I'll just listen to a podcast. So I slept most of the way to Cornwall, and we got there probably, I want to say 10:30, 11 o'clock. I want to say 11 o'clock. And our Airbnb wasn't even ready yet, so we walked down to the beach, had some fish and chips. That was lovely. Then walked back. Oh no, then we hired our surfboards. No, I can't remember which order we did. We walked back. Basically, it was like a 5-10 minute-ish walk from where we were staying in Newquay in Cornwall to where the kind of beach was. We were at, is it Fistral Beach, I want to say. I'm really bad at pronouncing things, so if I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry to all my, I was going to say Cornwallians. That is people from Cornwall. You know what I mean? I don't know why I came up with that little nickname. It sounds quite fun though. It sounds like something in like Lord of the Rings. I'm a Cornwallian. Anyway, but yeah, I learnt to surf for the very first time. I was about to say, I've done surfing before. I have never done surfing before. I've done bodyboarding before. It's a bit like me saying, it's a bit like when non-horsey people be like, oh yeah, I know how to ride a horse. I rode a horse at a friend's 5th birthday party and was led around. Like, no, you don't know how to ride a horse. You've sat on a horse before. Or be like, oh yeah, like I used to ride when I was like 7. I had like a year's worth of lessons, but I have no core strength or anything like that, or muscle memory or anything like that to do with horse riding, but I know how to ride a horse. Like, I know how to, you know, squeeze my legs and pull on the reins. There's a bit more to that. It's like, that's one of like my pet peeves when like non-horsey people say that they know how to ride a horse because they rode a horse once and then they go on like a riding holiday, and that's the reason why so many riding holidays are like you can only walk and trot, because they're worried like somebody who's only ridden once says that they can ride and they go for a canter and then fall off and sue them. But anyway, I was gonna say, but I'm a very strong swimmer. Like, I've always loved swimming. Like, I think I had lessons on how to swim like before I turned 1 as a baby. I went to baby swimming, and I don't even know what you really do at baby swimming. You just kind of hold the baby and they just get used to being in the water, floating about, and go under the water, I guess, and I don't know. Anyway, I've always, I can't remember not knowing how to swim. Like, I've always been a swimmer. I used to actually have like proper like swimming lessons and everything, and I got to the stage where they're like, oh, we want you to do like swimming competitively, and I was like, no, I don't do that. So but anyway, I kind of talked previously about how we lived in Australia for 3 months. So that was 3 months that we lived in Australia. Whenever we were by the coast, I was in the sea. I loved it. I loved snorkeling. I still love snorkeling. Not really something that we can do off the side of, you know, Brighton Pier, is it? I mean, you probably could, but I don't know if there's much really to see there. I mean, I'm sure some people go diving. There must be some like interesting like shipwrecks and things on that bit of coast, like because of that's where they had all the boats in the Second or First World War. Anyway, So anyway, back to what I was saying. I've always loved swimming, and I did a lot of bodyboarding, but I was 8, so I'm not going to say I'm a surfer or anything like that, because I will sound like one of those people that say they know how to ride horses. But I was all right, as 8-year-olds go. I was pretty good at my bodyboarding. I remember once me and my dad, we went so far out to sea that the lifeguards were like, can you come back in please? You're quite far out and we can't really see you. And I can't remember if we got sort of taken out by a riptide. But if you ever get taken out by a riptide, basically what it feels like is you try and swim to where the shore is, but you can't, and the water or the waves are kind of pushing you out. So if you ever get stuck in a riptide, this is one thing my mum double checked with me that I knew what to do when we went to Cornwall. She was like, what do you do if you get stuck in a riptide? And what you're supposed to do is swim sideways, because you kind of have to swim around the riptide and then you can go in. If you just try and swim against these waves pushing you out, it's not going to work. But something that I did learn when learning to surf, oh my goodness, it is more than you could ever imagine when it comes to a workout. When I tell you, by the second day, my arms felt like jelly. I cannot explain to you. I felt like I'd been in some sort of car crash or something. Like, I just lost all my energy. Like, even just sitting up, like getting off the sofa and using my arms to push me up, oh my goodness, I felt it was, I don't know how else to describe it. I was just absolutely knackered. So yeah, learning to surf. I actually, like, my boyfriend's had, he's gonna be like, no, I am no way at all surfer, but he's had a few like surfing lessons before. Like, his family go to Cornwall every few summers kind of thing. Like, he's been to Cornwall quite a lot of times before, so he kind of taught me the basics, and I've watched some surfing videos online. I feel like it's one of those things, like, you should not learn, like, definitely don't learn how to swim by watching YouTube videos or something like that. But you know, I was like looking at what they were doing. I was trying to take in my inner surfer girl, and so he taught me how to do like the little pop-up. And I tell you what, the first day, the waves were better than the second day. The first day, I was having a blast. Like, we were going out there. Do you know what? I was actually alright. I managed to probably, like, this really doesn't sound very good. Like, anyone who's like a proper surfer is like, that is not long. The whole time I was surfing for like the 2.5 hours that we were there on the first day, I managed to stand up for probably a total of about 13 seconds. Now, that is actually quite a long time. Like, within 2 hours, you're like, girl, 13 seconds, what are you going on about? But most of the time, you're swimming against these waves to get out, and then you kind of wait for a wave, and you're like, no, and kind of back out, and you're like, no, not going to go for that one. And then you see a big one coming, and sometimes you're swimming along and you see a big one coming, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get wiped out by that unless I go for it. So you have to spin your board around, do a little paddle, and then as soon as like kind of the waves in you, I think that's the best way to describe it. If you're a surfer, I'm really sorry. This is like a beginner trying to explain like what I was doing. This might be totally wrong. And then you kind of like supposed to do like your little pop up. So you're supposed to kind of push yourself up. That's why my arms were aching so much, onto your feet, and then stand up. Now, what I was actually really good at was not holding onto the board. Like, I feel like my core strength and my balance from horse riding meant that I was very good at not holding onto the board and like getting up. But the thing that I was not scared of, but for some reason I just never did, that I really needed to work on, was popping up onto my feet rather than popping up onto my knees. So I popped up onto my knees a few times just to kind of get used to it, because obviously balance, that kind of thing, is probably a little bit easier on your knees. Somebody's going to be like, no, you have way more grip on your feet, don't do that, girl. But that's what I was taking to start with. And then I kind of went into the, I'm going to call it the proposal position, where I was standing up and I kind of was on one knee and then one foot. So I was like sliding along the waves, kind of almost like I was not bowing, but also when I first started, I obviously did it on my chest, kind of like a, I was going to say a bodyboard, but I feel like the cool surfer term is a boogie board. I don't know if that's an American term or not, but I've always called it bodyboarding, but I've heard a lot of people call it boogie boarding as well, because they have like the lifeguard kind of flags, and there was a little sign being like, you can boogie board here and you can surf here, like between different flags. But anyway, I was kind of on my chest holding on, and what I realised was not the thing to do was don't put too much weight, because I'm very good at doing this with my riding, especially with Dee from the Dynamic Performance Hub, who I work with a lot for like my position. I feel like my position has definitely improved a lot in the last sort of year or two that I've been working with her, but I always put my weight forward. I do the same thing when I'm skipping. That's another thing that I realised. I feel like I just put all my weight forward, which isn't great when you know, you're doing dressage or you're jumping. You don't really want to get on a horse's neck, so I've been really focusing on sitting up. But anyway, when I was surfing, what was I doing? I was leaning forward, and then the sort of tip of the surfboard right at the top went into the water, and I kind of did like a 360. I did a full-on wiped out, sand in my mouth and my hair and my, I don't know, places I don't want to talk about. I feel like when you go to the beach there's just sand everywhere. But yeah, I was properly wiped out. I had like seawater down my nose, down my mouth. I mean, I'm normally very good at like blowing bubbles out my nose so I don't get water in my nose, but I felt like I'd been in a washing machine. It was not good. So I learned very quickly not to put too much weight at the top of the surfboard. If not, like, the tip will go into the water and it will not be good. But by the end of it, I've managed to stand up a few times and I was very proud of myself. It is quite addicting though. I feel like that is the best sport for, like, if you just really want to get your fitness up. Oh my goodness. But also like core strength as well. And because you're doing an activity, I feel like, I don't know what it is, like, don't get me wrong, I love going to the gym, but I feel like it can be quite boring. I feel like it's quite, I find it really interesting if you're like doing things and you're like, oh, I managed to do more things I did last time. Like, I always like to feel like I'm improving or feel like I've got a target or something that I want to work towards. So doing surfing, I felt like every time I was like, oh, I want to try and stand on the board longer. I want to try and stand on it properly. So I can really imagine how addicting it is. And it just, like, Cornwall, I've got to say, like, I feel like, I can't believe I haven't said this yet, but it is such a beautiful area, and I can really, like, I was just looking at all the locals because we were there like quite early in the mornings before. We were quite lucky actually. We managed to get there early in the mornings while the kind of locals were there before all the tourists kind of came in. And also definitely on the Friday as well, because I feel like there weren't as many tourists there. We also went at a really good time, being like end of May, because it's not like the kids have broken up from school yet. But also it wasn't as busy. I mean, we had a beautiful weekend for it. Full sunshine all day, so very, very lucky with that. But yeah, learning to surf was a lot more difficult than expected. Also, the second day I felt like the waves weren't as good, especially for me. I think my boyfriend found it alright because he's that bit taller than me, so when the waves come and hit you, he could kind of sink his feet or claw his feet into the sand so we didn't get pushed back as much, but I couldn't really reach the bottom as much, so when a wave kind of hit me and it wasn't one that I was going to take back to shore, it really pushed me back. So it felt like every 3 meters I managed to kind of swim forward with my board, I got pushed back too. So it took me a really long time to get out. And I feel like the second day the waves just weren't as good. You would like be like, I was all ready. I was like ready. I was like popped up, wave went, and it would probably push me about 3 meters. And then I'd just not sink on my board, but you know what I mean? Like the wave had gone, like the energy had gone, like, and it just went really quickly. So I can really like, now I feel like one of those surfer dudes being like, oh yeah, the waves were really good yesterday. Today, not so much. Like, I don't know. After that, we watched loads of videos on YouTube of like surfing in different countries. And oh my goodness, some of the waves there looked really cool. So I'd love to do more surfing at some stage. I'm definitely nowhere at all a surfer. I think it'd be quite dangerous to probably do it where we are. Maybe like, I don't know, I don't even think the waves would be good in the, I mean, I've swam in the sea a lot of the times in the summer, but I feel like, no. Not for surfing where we are, especially as we have quite pebbly beaches. So you can imagine if I got, you know, in the tumble dryer or washing machine kind of effect where I got wiped out, having a stone hit you in the head, ooh, that would be painful. Probably come out with those little bruises and things. So after our 2 days of surfing, we were like, okay, third day, let's have a chill day. And actually where we were staying was a 5-minute walk away from this estuary. And he brought us paddleboards, so we went paddleboarding, which was really fun. And then the tide went out so much, or basically all the water in the estuary. We actually had our breakfast down there, had a little cup of tea and a flask, which was really good. And then, yeah, by the time we left, there was actually no water left. So I kind of took a bit of a back seat on that paddleboarding. I mean, I probably paddled like for the first 5 minutes, and then he kind of paddled the rest because my arms were like jelly. I was like, I'm normally like a very fit and like let's go kind of person, but I was like, mate, I am not in a good way, like my arms are killing. So actually we went for a little bit of an explore really. We found a little footpath, went for a little walk down there, had a little kind of chill on the beach, and actually while we were chilling on the beach, as we saw kind of the water go away, or I say the beach, the river bed or the estuary bed, I thought, oh, what's this woman doing over here? And there was this lady, and she was setting out a dressage test on the bed of the river when all the water had gone. So I guess, like, you know, a beach is like, I always think a beach is like the world's largest sand school or arena. So they were putting that to good use. I was like, oh my goodness, I would love to do that with my horses. They set out, like, at first I was like, oh, I don't know if those letters are in the right place. Maybe she's not doing a dressage test, because where we were sitting, it looked like A was next to K. Well, it is next to it, but it's kind of like at a right angle. It looked like it was all in one line. So I was like, oh, this is a bit confusing. And then I realised where we were standing, it was just the angle. But also I was a bit confused by some of the other letters, because it was a long dressage arena, and I'm very used to a short dressage arena. I'm actually, very excitingly, doing a show on Joey this week. So probably in my next podcast, I'll be talking about that. It'll either be great, it'll either be bad, or maybe it'll just be neutral. But yeah, I was very confused at first, and then I saw some horses having a little dressage lesson on the estuary, and it was a long one as well. That's the one thing, I have never done a long dressage test before, because our arena isn't big enough, and I feel like I wouldn't want to do a dressage test unless I'd like at least ridden it. Like, I could probably learn it. It looks a little bit more confusing, but I mean, I could go do an arena hire before, I guess, and then go and do it. But anywho, maybe one day for the future. But yeah, I was like, oh wow, I'd love to do that, a little ride on, maybe next time I go to the beach to bring some letters with me. I'd probably set it out completely wrong and not in the right place, and then the tide will come in by the time I've set out my letters, and they'll get all washed away. Because our kind of beach where we are, it's pebble most of the time, and then when the kind of tide goes out, it's sandy, which is nice. So that's why I can do my little cantering and galloping on there. I actually really want to take the horses back to the beach. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to time it really well, like with the tides and what time the tides are, because we quite like to go first thing in the morning before it gets busy, because a lot of other people take their horses there as well. But anyway, yeah, that was great fun. I mean, I'm gonna say, like, I'm a little bit nervous about my dressage test with Joey, because we haven't been to like a dressage. We haven't been to a show since before his injury, and it's also not the normal place that we go to. I mean, I've done dressage there once before, but it will be in the outdoor arena rather than the indoor one. I think they use the indoor one for like the warm up, and then the outdoor arena for, I mean, they have two outdoor arenas, but like the big outdoor arena, they'll have like lots of little different dressage tests going on at once. So hopefully that won't be too distracting for Joey, having like other horses doing a test next to him, and also being outside and in an arena he's not been in many times before, and also being our first show back. But you know what, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's our first show back, so no pressure at all. If we do horribly, I can be like, it's his first show back, you know, like before I was like, he's a baby horse, and now I'm like, it's his first show back since his injury. Can't really pull the baby horse card anymore. And it's also quite a big class as well. So, and also, it's a unaffiliated and an affiliated show. So there'll be some people there that have like a British dressage membership. So they'll be proper, you know, do this every weekend, pay a lot of money for their membership and things, and probably the judges recognise them, and I don't know, like I'm going out there unaffiliated, just doing one test because the other one was a long one, and I was like, I can't learn that. So we will see how it goes. You never know. Joey, I feel like he's going to feel more energetic, more, you know, impulsion kind of, I don't know, I feel like he's going to be on his toes a little bit, because it's going to be a bit of a different environment than what we're used to. All the dressage tests I've done with him before have been like an indoor arena where he feels very safe and enclosed. Although some horses are a bit more spooky in indoors, so we will see. But yeah, if it does go well, that's great. If it does go bad, like a fall off, good YouTube content. And if it just goes meh, then could have been worse, you know? So either way, I'm gonna take everything positively, think of it in a positive kind of way. Anyway, Cornwall, I had a really incredible time. It was so beautiful. I've been there once before, but I was 8, so it was quite a long time ago. It's one of those things where you can remember it, but I couldn't remember all the places I'd been to or what they were called or that kind of thing. Also, I think one of the reasons why we were so lucky / had a good trip was because, number one, the weather was so nice, but also we didn't go during peak season. Apparently, like during the summer holidays or peak season, oh my goodness, I've heard stories about how it being so busy. So I really do feel kind of bad for the locals when it does get really busy and like with all the tourists, but I guess it's also income. It's one of those things where it's kind of tricky. So yeah, thank you very much to all the Cornwallians or people from Cornwall for, you know, letting me into. Oh yeah, I was thinking about this because sometimes before I do a podcast I kind of think about, well, like I never script my podcast because, girl, how could you script all the times I go off topic? But I kind of like just put down bullet points. Like, I knew I wanted to talk about Windsor or the horse show, what it's like to work at a horse show as media, and I knew I wanted to talk about like Cornwall and what we got up to. But oh my gosh, I've just suddenly gone blank. I've never done this before in my podcast. What was I going on about? Alright, I can remember what I was saying now. So when I was thinking about, you know, what I wanted to talk about today, and I was thinking about Cornwall, I was like, how am I going to explain what Cornwall is like to my non-English viewers or like my American viewers? Because I was thinking that's probably the best country to kind of compare it to in a sense. I was like, it's kind of like, I was like, it's kind of like the UK's Australia. I think that's the best way to describe it. If you can imagine like a really kind of surfy, beachy kind of town where everyone's really cool, everyone does surfing, everyone like, you know, has their own, I mean, I'm sure not everyone in Cornwall does surfing. I'm really generalising here. But it just feels like such a cool kind of place, such a cool area. I was thinking I was going to say it's not really like the US's Florida, because I was thinking what has beaches. I wouldn't say it's definitely not Miami vibes. That is like party. That's more like Blackpool, I'd say. That's more like party kind of vibes. I don't know. I was thinking like maybe California. Like if you can imagine like the beaches and stuff. I just think of surfer dudes in California. Probably because I'm thinking about like Hollister, and they'd always have like people surfing in the background at their shops, you know, on the big TVs. Is that just me? I don't know. Have I dreamt that up and that was a fever dream? But I feel like that definitely was a thing. I don't know if it's still a thing. Maybe it was a thing in like 2013. But then I was thinking maybe Hawaii. But Hawaii, I feel like, I know it's part of the US, but it almost feels like a different country, and this is like part of mainland UK. So I'd say kind of, if you can imagine like a very surfy kind of beachy town, that's how I would describe it. So anyway, I've probably rambled on again for way too long. I hope you enjoyed hearing what I've been up to recently, and yeah, be sure to look out for the next episode where I'll probably be updating you on how my show with Joey went. So keep my fingers crossed, but hopefully he is a good boy. So thank you so much everybody for listening to today's episode. Also thank you so much again to Red Post for sponsoring today's podcast, or just the podcast in general. I hope you all have a great day, and thanks for listening. Bye!